do a wonderful job of the background music. It's amazing.
I'm a DJ.
That's awesome,
All
man.
right. Well, it's 11 o'clock.
It's the classic bold intro, right? We had an appointment at 11 o'clock, and it was 11 o'clock. Are we ready to get started? That's awesome, man. Mr. Alex Brandau, Mr. Alex Brandau, definitely one of our fearless leaders here for sure. Um, when I think of Alex, I think of culture. I think of high standards of performance, integrity, and several different adjectives, obviously, that coincide with just his tenure at KW and living the brand. One thing that I'm going to ask Alex today to speak on a little bit, just so you guys know the amazing experience that he had, and kind of help you as far as dreaming a big dream, living a big life, was his experience in France. And, speak on that a little bit. I know the premise of this overall is a little bit different. However, welcome to the show, Mr. Brandau, and thank you, sir, for pouring into us and taking the time. I know it's big, taking the time to do this. So thank you very much, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. It's my pleasure. I'm happy to do it, and glad, we're going to do something to help everybody grow and something they can take. I think every time I teach and share, it's important to me that there's something super tactical, right? There's a lot of people that talk real super airy-fairy, and you really don't know what they're, what that's all about. But for me personally, I always want to see a speaker or hear a speaker or take time that I'm away from my friends, my family, my business, to have something that I'm going to take and put right back into practice and make money with. So super excited to share. But I mean, I will say right off the gate, I'm happy to talk, but it's more important to make sure we talk about what everyone wants to talk about, right? And what they need right now, where they are on that journey. So whether that's in the chat or whether that's, in the free-flowing conversation, it's important to me that we make sure that we deliver for everyone that's here and investing this time. So.
Love it. Love it. Well, Alex, if you don't mind, because we've got some new people and we're going to have some guests today, just out of the gate, if you don't mind, a quick bio of career or anything that you want to talk, just real quick. Let's go 30 seconds and then we'll jump into the material so that everybody can get rolling.
Sure. So my name's Alex Brandau. I am a 19-year agent. I'm 5'6", 193 pounds. Ding for the coming in. People out there. So 19 years in the business. I've been at Keller Williams for 14 of those 19 years. Gone through several different models, from a solo agent to a team to a really big team to our current model, which is about a 5th level team. I've also, in the past 5 to 6 years, really expanded and focused on luxury. That's a particular special focus. I'm also a unique individual in Nashville, as I am a 4th generation native Nashvilleian. And I grew up as a 4th generation real estate investor. I just happen to be the 1st generation making my living in real estate, helping people buy and sell homes and invest in properties too. So.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you very much. So I appreciate that. Just so everybody knows kind of who they're talking to and who they're listening to. I think that's important.
For sure, always.
When we put the poll out there, I think right now, in a world where we have the red book and we have the perfect model, we have the 30-30-40 model in our finances, we have leads, listings, leverage, we have all these perfect ways of going about business. I'm running into a lot of our agents, and it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. However, there are a lot of buyers right now, and the listings seem to be a little bit tougher to come by, depending on the approach and database and everything of that nature. So I want to lead and ask you this question. What would you say to people? And again, we had a mastermind session last week with somebody who literally told us and everybody, 80-85% of my business is buyers, and I've gone that route. And now I'm hiring a listing agent to go and focus that route because I've made my living with these buyers and it's still going. So I guess my question is, if somebody's out of model in this perfect model, what would you say to them? Both longevity and then maybe details on, is that okay? What can we do to, to stay in our lane and also grow? Like what advice would you come out of the gate with?
Yeah, so I think there's time in our in our journey that we need to look at the model, and we need to grow, and we need to have that growth time. But then there's also go time, right? There's so the answer is it okay to be out of model? The answer is definitely. My personal journey, on growth, I think my second year in, we did like 33 buyer sides and 4 listings. Right. And, whether you knew that or not before you prompted that question, good on you. Ask good questions, you get good answers, right? But, and I didn't really care. I'll tell you, I didn't know that. I was at an independent boutique. I didn't know a model to build to. I didn't know what was best. And someone told me, he was like, man, that's crazy that you're doing 33 buyer sides to it. Now, for those of us that have been in and around KW, my actual personality profile, history, AVA, is I am a dead ringer for a buyer's agent, which is really interesting for me on my own journey, because I'm having different results as a dead ringer, as a buyer's agent, where there's different personality types, there's different models, and there's different people having different, success in a different way. So I've had to adapt, and I can adapt. And so can you, right? So first things first, focus on the opportunities that you have, right? I mean, I have a new saying that is really catching fire, that is, we're not selling perfect. Right. I've started telling clients that there was a day that we would do that we would sell perfect. Like, we're going to do this exactly, and it's going to be perfect. And, I've realized, like, we're not selling perfect here. And we are working for doing the absolute best that it can be done. But you know what? There's going to be mistakes, and I'm just telling you now, at least 3 a week. That's about the most we allow. But other than that, but I will say that, right? Like, just go with what you have. If you've got opportunities and you've got people right now that want to buy and sell houses, go with those buyers. And you got people that want to sell, go with that. There's strengths in both opportunities, but I would not overthink that, right? Just don't, there may be a reason for that. And that's when you lean in on someone with a little more experience that's got, that understands that. And then you can stair step your way into it, into having a more balanced practice. But, yeah, I see a lot of people in the industry, right? They spend a lot of time getting ready, getting set, and like, get into action, right? We have another saying that we use all the time in our company that's like, go cause that problem, right? Like, go cause a problem. We will clean it up. My company, between me and my business manager, who I've been with for 13 years, interestingly enough, we're like, there's not a problem that we haven't seen. Right. And so go cause a problem. We'll help you figure it out, as opposed to, well, I'm going to get my font size just right for my postcard that I'm going to mail to a bunch of people that don't know me. Right. And, there's a time and a place, but get into action and get into direct action.
I love that. And I was going to, analysis paralysis hit my head. Right. Have you ever found yourself in that spot?
Couple hours ago.
All right. So when you catch yourself sitting and preparing. When you catch yourself doing that, how do you amp out? How do you get out there?
Yeah, so there's tons of habits, and Marcus, you and I've talked about it. We've got something we can share here in a minute about habits and lifestyle, and how to build some of those in just a minute. But it's all about, you got to get out of your own head, and it's an evolution. There were days early in my career with us having guests on this and agents that are less than a decade or so in the business. There were days that something not going right would disrupt the whole day. And just like anything else, you build up skill, you build up muscle memory, you build up habits that help you reach new heights as you go forward, right? And so taking you through that, being intentional about it, you realize you're like, wow, yesterday, I mean, I had an enormous amount of things. I had someone that was going to make an offer and it didn't happen and it went away. And I had someone call and cuss me out because, you know, they didn't like the counter they got. And, you know, it was just this up and down, peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys. And that was all before 11 o'clock. And then we're about 6 of them.
Yeah.
And, you know, so the way you do it is you need to have, 1, habits in place, 2, relationships in place to help and call and be like, man, this just happened. Because the reality is in 2020 in the real estate industry, everyone has access to us. We are not far away. In less than 30 seconds, anyone can get to us and interrupt our day and our focus, right? And so the choice is you either, you know, put structure and tools and habits in place to know that you're going to get to it, right? If you tell someone, if you leave a voicemail every day that says, I'll be returning calls today at 11 and 3, I promise you, because I used to do that, that at 11 and 15 seconds, if you haven't called somebody, they're going nuts. And you're going, well, hold on. You said no. You said 11. It's 11 and 15 seconds. Am I not important? So you've got to be intentional about that language and that scripting. Be very intentional about that to say, I'm returning calls, whatever it is. We changed ours because we realized there was conflict there, right? And so that's one of those things. I think I've gotten a little bit way down the wormhole here, but I will say just from a habit standpoint, when your mindset shifts, you've got to come back to the guardrails that you put up in your life, right? Personally and professionally. Having physical triggers to put you into work mode, you know, whether that is for me, it's getting dressed, right? Like for me, when I get dressed and, you know, put on the bow tie and I have a physical trigger when I pick up my business card carrying case and put it in my pocket, like I'm no longer dad, husband, Alex, son. I'm, you know, Alex at Alexander Brandau Partners, you know, and
Love that.
the leader in that regard. And so that's a physical trigger. When the emotional comes up, you got to have another physical trigger to shift it, whether it's calling one of your double super secret friends and going, oh my God, and having it out. Or, you know, having a physical trigger going, you know what, I'm going to have to put that in a drawer. I have to physically put that in a mental drawer and put it away because it's going to disrupt me from what my goals are today.
I think that can go back to anchoring, right? I mean, when you say physical habits, that's essentially anchoring in some regards. You know, they teach in bold, like you can develop the habit as a parent, go over to your, you know, son or daughter and say, I love you. And then, you know, something as simple as touching their shoulder every time you say, I love you. And then after a while you touch their shoulder and they'll hit, I love you too, right? You don't even have to say the words. And it's an anchor. And what you're doing is you're anchoring your next move, or you're anchoring your emotional state to shift for you, which is extremely powerful. I think we could also say it's a physical affirmation, maybe, to where, okay, whoo, that was something. I love getting cussed out before 11 a.m. every day, right? Let me shift here because my next phone call is going to be exceptionally important.
Well, because you don't know what what happened the 30 seconds prior or the 30 seconds post. Right. And so I'm a big believer in books and various different books that we read. And one of those is the 4 Agreements, right? And one of the 4 agreements is don't take anything personally. And you have no idea what just happened, right? You pick up the phone. I literally called the guy. I wasn't even finished telling him the counter. And I mean, it went off like the 4th of July, like, bah, 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 bah. And I was like, whoa, I mean, I speak that language, just to be clear, not here because it costs me money, but I speak that language and I understand it and I'm very comfortable with it. But at the same time, I was like, hold on. Wow, I haven't even told you all of it, which let me know now where I am today at, you know, almost 43 and 20 years in the business. I could go, okay. Whereas year 2, year 3, and it was the only thing I had going, it would ruin the day, right? I would obsess on it and it would take me off my priorities because I let a distraction in. And it was super distracting. I mean, I could fill the rest of the hour with the stuff that wanted to distract me yesterday alone. And the magic is to put your priorities back in and on focus. And one of the ways we do it, I've talked about it a bunch, is my own, it's a 1-3-5. Having that 4-1-1, and doing a 4-1. You can see mine is right here-ish. You see it right there?
Here-ish. Yeah.
No. Hold on, I get it.
Yeah.
I'll get it off the wall. We'll bring it up here. But I mean, here in the international headquarters, like, we go through and do this 4-1-1, and have my personal ones, but also the business priorities. And I know that if we don't do it, like, oh gosh, that came off of that. But I mean, having it from our yearly, right? Having our yearly focus of what our business plan is and what our business to all the way to the monthlies.
Yeah.
And then taking it in here and, being weak. Now look, to the prior point, look who's not perfect, by the way, right? Like, I didn't get to it. And these weren't the best weeks to do it, but we know this is the right habit to refocus on to focus on more than not.
All right, so let me pause here because I want to make sure that the crowd knows. Alex and I came into this conversation a little bit open-ended. We had some generic things that we wanted to cover for sure. However, I want to make sure to emphasize this. What Alex just did was simply stay in relationship with his goals and the plan of attack to achieve those goals. He is a fan of the 4-1-1. He is a fan of the 1-3-5. It works for him. And guys, he didn't just do that for today's call. I could literally go up to Alex, and any of y'all could go up to Alex at any time and say, hey, I'm developing a 1-3-5. Can I see yours? Boom. He'd have it for you. Or, hey, what's your monthly 401 this month? Boom. It's available. He stays in relationships with those goals. And Alex, I mean, if you didn't have it written down, if you didn't have it in front of you, what would change about progress?
Everything. I mean, because if you're not aware of it, if you don't keep it in front of you, I just got through telling my children, one of my children today, my 11-year-old, I was like, what's on your schedule today? He's like, I don't know. And I was like, okay, well, if you don't write down what you want to accomplish, you're not going to accomplish any of it. And so when you do that, you're prioritizing it. One of my best habits in this, this past quarter, this past 3 months has been writing down all the stuff I wanted to do, all of it. Like, just get it out. This is a little off, but it's your cognitive load, right? Your cognitive load of what you carry in your head. Oh, don't forget that I've got to do this. Don't forget that I've got to do that, whatever it is, right? That cognitive load carries in your head and holds you up. And so I just absolutely journal every bit of that out. And I'll show those to you too. I've got them right here. And so here's everything that I want to do, whether it was pick strawberries or take one of the children fishing or, whatever is on here. I've got a creek bed that I want to work on. I've got household things I need to work on. One of my children wants to learn how to cook a steak. I mean, I needed to research new flashlights because we lost power, in that second storm that came through.
Yes.
Things like that. Just here, get it out of my head and here because I forgot about them. And it frees up your cognitive load to focus. And so my habit is Monday, I do that. And actually, I typically do this on Friday or even Saturday, just all the things that I want. And then Monday is when we look at our 1-3-5. We have a weekly review every Wednesday in our company of our 1-3-5. And what are we on track for and what are we not on track for? What do we need to focus on? Is it still a priority? Is it not still a priority? And I would caution people to be careful of changing too quickly and ask, staff, anyone in the coaching club, anyone in the office with several years of experience, ask someone outside of yourself, how long have you been doing it? Be careful of going to find the answers you want versus the answers you need to hear. Find those answers that someone will actually help you and guide you through those things. But we do those on Monday every single day. We write our production and focus and our best opportunities for the week. We do our 4-1-1 and we look at our 1-3-5 on Monday and then we launch. That's what our Monday morning looks like. When it's written, I've done that for years and years and years. hand write my schedule every single day. And when I do that, I absolutely have internalized our schedule and our focuses and our priorities. When I don't do that, I literally forget them. So there's something about actually kinesthetically, physically writing it. Again, I got that right here too.
I was about to say, where's the planner?
Yeah, so it's right here.
Yep.
That was coming. And every single day, we write out our morning mindset, our morning journal, just like Miracle Morning, going through and actually physically writing out the schedule of what's happening for the day. And then we do it in the evening. If you don't do that, now mind you, this is exactly like what we were talking about before. Like this is like, hey, I'm going to go run today. Cool. How's an ultra marathon sound? Right? Like don't start here. Start with a piece and build up to these things. This is absolutely difficult for me. And I've been doing it for, a decade.
Yeah.
To go through and have 10 questions about your morning mindset. Like that's intense.
Yeah.
And so anyway, for what it's worth, that's a powerful piece.
I think it goes back to, and thank you for saying that, like essentially don't wake up tomorrow in a complete shift on how you do your daily, right? It's like the 66 day habit. It's about developing one thing at a time. I think Gary Keller says you can never develop more than one habit at a time at a high level.
For sure.
Right? So you've developed these over time, one on top of each other. We've got some people on here that are in massive growth mode. Maybe they've hired their first assistant. Maybe they have multiple businesses. Maybe they're on the verge of hiring that assistant, and they're looking for that leverage point, right? And there's other people on here that have already got that in place, and they're growing a team, and they've got a team. You review this every single week. How do you keep it from being monotonous, overlooked, and not as purposeful in those meetings?
So for us in particular, we go through it and we rotate through, right? If you've done your 1-3-5 in a complete way, you've got as much, you have 15 strategies, right? When you go through that and you've got your focus and your priorities and your strategies and you go through there and you put it in there, we've got 15 of them. Well, that doesn't get boring, right? Because, once a week, that's 14. It takes us a quarter to get through it all. And so we also, with the 3 different strategies, the one goal, the 3 different, and we break that down. When we break those down, that's when we take it. We look at it and go, where do we think? And we kind of talk about it and we'll pick and choose. You could make it really rigid and go literally in order. Okay, we're in this and this and this and go all the way down. You could skip each one of the 3 columns, right? You could go one at a time and keep coming back. We've let it freeform, and it's so far since we've been doing this, the biggest thing for us has been someone will bring something up and we'll have been aware of it because they know it's coming. And they're anticipating it and they're like, you know what? Like I can give you one for specific this week. It was talking about one of our priorities was, doing some speaking engagements and doing speaking engagements, building our agent network, building our out of area market referrals that come into the market, right? And so one of our strategies was to go do that and was to teach in certain market centers. Well, guess what? We can't do, right? And so we were like, okay. We were talking about physically going there and physically investing the time to do that. So now we've repurposed and we're like, look, now all of a sudden in 90 days, the world has turned and is very comfortable with Zoom meetings in spite of my own back-end monitor not working just right right now. But nonetheless, we overcome, right? Focus. It's here. Let's go. Make it happen. So we've started that. And that wasn't me that said that, by the way. That was one of my partners that was like, we're not doing this. This is the biggest thing we're missing. We need to find a way to launch that. And so.
I love that. Adapt, right? Adaptability. And then I love that you made it more of a free-for-all on talking about those strategies. Because I think if you were rigid every time, people would show up and be like, all right, here we go, right? It's tough. Now, I venture to say, man, I hate to say it, from time to time, I think you probably are human, right? You fall short on a few things from time to time, right?
For sure.
So when you find, for lack of a better term, and then please understand what I'm saying when I say this, when you find monotony in your pursuit, when you find monotony, whether it be in real estate or whether it be in growth in that moment or that week or whatever that is, how do you check yourself on raising the bar? How do you check yourself on making sure that, hey, I demand a better standard of my life, right? Do you have a coach that does that for you and helps you through that? Do you have a family member? Do you have a mentor, peer group, whatever that is? And I'm not talking necessarily about the boredom. It's just more like the pursuit. Okay, yeah, we sold 100 houses. Okay, cool. How do you, I guess, purpose and drive and why behind it?
Yeah, so for me, I'll answer all those parts and pieces. I'm super competitive. So I've never had a challenge, getting up, getting after it, getting up earlier, being the first one up, the first one there, the first one this, the first one that, whatever that may be. So that's just, literally that's about living and breathing for me. I've learned to refocus what I'm focused on and what I'm competitive about, because I realized I was comparing my insides to someone else's outsides. And I realized that I was chasing stuff that wasn't necessarily really in line with my own priorities and ultimate goals, why we're really doing this. And so what we've done is we've refocused the competitive side and the goals on why we're doing it. It's even in this, near term, it's amazing how much more time we've gained by not having to, the commute times back and forth and the in and out and the this and that. Like, we're gaining time and productivity, in this time in 2020. And that's exciting, right? It's exciting. There's efficiencies in that. And we're excited about what that means for the future, instead of, 2.5 hours of going back and forth between 3 coffees, which are great. I'm doing it here and doing it with, my water bottle. I'm doing it with coffee and okay, cheers. And we do it. And it was neat. It was great, but it was also terrible because we discovered we had 5 minutes between these meetings. And I'm like, oh my gosh, hold on a minute. There were 4 meetings there. We need a small break, more than 5 minutes because, nature calls. So, right. You got to have a minute, hold on a second. I got to take a breath, this. And so that's really interesting. But, that's just part of it. I do have a coach. I've had many coaches and I've been in coaching for a long time. I invested very, very early in my own coaching definitely before I created bad habits, but that laid an amazing foundation that I still live today. So the time block that we created there is part of who we are. I feel uncomfortable if I'm not on the phone, between 9 and 11, calling people, making things happen, working through stuff, finding new people, checking in on people, that kind of stuff. It's uncomfortable for us. So coaching's amazing. I think coaching's really interesting. There's a lot of different ways and a lot of different peers of mine across the country have different thoughts and mindset about that. Some people really like to lock in and they'll find a coach and a mentor for something they're very focused on in the next, 6 months, and they will learn that widget and then they'll go. I'm a relationship guy. My business that we didn't talk about in the beginning is very, very relationship based. I'm very heavy database. I'm very heavy relationship. I have sold 6 houses to people I went to kindergarten with.
That is amazing.
That's real. I tell people also, and this is funny, you can laugh, I dated 4 women in my life and I married 2 of them. And that's true. So, not at the same time, mind you, but we're not, that's a Utah thing, not a Tennessee thing. So, but all that to say, we're very, very, very relationship based.
Yeah.
So understanding that about us and how we stay in relationship with folks, be connected. One of my clients right now, we were with yesterday, showing them a house, $1 million house over off West End. And someone was asking me now, how did you all meet? And I was like, well, we were sophomores in high school and he swam for another, competing high school's team. And, he beat me. And so I went and was like, what's your name, dude? Who are you? And, turns out he was a future Olympian swimmer. So, he turned out. But I mean, you need that different mindset. That's where a coach can come in with, a different mindset, different health, because you'll think through something and you need their experience to truly know you and to truly know what your opportunities are. So
Love that. Love that. Well, I'm gonna circle back. First and foremost, when I heard uncomfortable not being on the phone between 9 and 11, I loved that, because we can also define, if you're uncomfortable, that means you have formed a habit in some way that you're outside of, right? So if you're uncomfortable as like not getting some downtime between 5 and 7 at night, that means your habit is that downtime. And if you're outside your element or whatever, that's an amazing way to check the habit too. Like, I feel weird not here from 9 to 11. That's a good habit to have, right? That's amazing. I love that. I'm going to ask you a direct question, and then I'm going to get into more of a team thing as well. And guys, while we go into these next two phases, questions, ahas, anything like that, go ahead and put it in the chat thread. And Alex, you said something about your monitor. If for some reason you can't see it, I'm going to prompt the questions to you.
Yeah,
so
please do that.
You don't have to worry about chasing them. Put in any questions about your business, about the day-to-day, about anything y'all want to hear. However, I'm going to ask you direct. What is your why? What is it?
So my own personal why is I always want to do things the best that they can be done. I do what I do because first of all, because I love it. But I do it for my family. I watched my personal household growing up, my original household. I watched my dad, struggle with jobs and relationships. He was a good salesperson, but he, because of several other things in his life, his early childhood, ultimately, 3-year vacation in Southeast Asia, and and then coming home to us and raising our family caused my dad to really struggle with relationships. And so that had impact on me because I saw it, right? I was there. And so one of the things that I've always been driven by was it's not about the dollars, but it is about the good that the money can do. It's not about, I want to make this. There are targets, and there were always targets, and there always will be targets of, net, earned, net, give, and the good that it can do, from that. And I have several different stories about it, including, stuff in this time that we just didn't even think about it. We were like, yes, we're going to do that. Like, let's make that happen. And so that was a big thing for me, as the why. I'm always, I believe the children that when we leave, and for me, is my big impact on the world behind us, right? We have a limited time here, and that's my digital footprint. Is not even digital, but that's my footprint. That's my mark, is leaving more, good people that do good things that help the world be a better place and a positive place. That's my why. And so helping them have a more worldly perspective, a broader sense, but also for them to be positive and impact on the world around them. And I tell them that all the time. And so that's my why. I'm building a big foundation and a big lens for them so they can continue to improve the planet, improve the people around them and the world around them. So
I love that. And I think now having a daughter and really developing that bond, I resonate well with this. Now, 4 years ago, it was like, what is he? Cool, man. Yeah, great. Kids are the future, right? And move on. However, I think that's a big thing. What, in regards to setting them up and making sure that they are impacting the world at a high level, what are some 1 or 2 or 3 things that, man, you have to accomplish this with your kids, right? And I get the big picture. More purposefully asked, what are you exposing them to in this world to make sure they're getting resources or diversity or different formats of how to live and cultures or whatever? What are some purposeful things that you're making sure happen for your kids?
Yeah, so part of it is, first and foremost, it's mindset. and showing them my mindset, and then in turn theirs, showing them that they're a priority. And my own time block intentionally prioritizes being available. I have 4 children ranging from 16 to 6, and they all have different needs. They're all in a different place, in a different journey. And so the first thing with them is time, right? Some of the big impactful things that I do with them, my wife and I are very good counterbalances to each other, but I always had this goal of, okay, I'm going to have an individual hour with each child per week, because with 4, it could very much get into herd mentality. It can turn into a prevent defense, and we're just kind of keeping it all in front of us. And you're focusing on the one that is in the most danger, right? You know, the one that's the furthest out of line, like, get back in here. You know, we get the sheepdog and we kind of pull them back into the main lane, right? But for us and for me, it's individual time. So it's taking them and talking to them. It's also about sharing mindset and being careful of that herd mentality, avoiding the herd, I guess, is a consistent theme here. And, you know, whether that's the mindset around youth sports, which is a huge passion of mine, and some books that I've read about that, about how far it shifted from what I grew up with and the way that it was to what it is to now. And how, you know, parents are almost general managers for these children's youth careers, and how that's actually not what's best for them, right? And so the mindset starts there, right? It starts with our habits and our mindset, the priority with them, time with them, and then ultimately helping them with their own mindset and turning into problem solvers, right? I will push them like I do my team. I can and do, you know, show them, okay, by example, as early as this morning, I was down and was here prospecting, and, you know, one of the children came in and said they needed something, or they told a story, and I was like, hold on, why are you telling me that? And he was like, well, because, you know, his grandfather's coming to get something. And I'm like, okay, well, we didn't say that, you know. He said, you know, he was looking for something. And I was like, okay, well, let's go find it. And we went to look for it, and he got up to where it was and didn't see it. It wasn't right in front of him. And I just stood there with him, and I was like, well, now what? And he was like, well, I thought it was here. And I was like, it is. He's like, well, I feel like it's right in front of me. And I was like, well, what can we do? And so he worked through it, and he ultimately found it. Really interesting. The most rewarding part of that, and I think something that's really honest, if we're being honest about that, is the impact that happens shows up in places that I don't necessarily see it. I don't get to see it immediately, and that's to some of the prior points, right? Like, you don't get to see that actual, like, oh, okay, that aha light bulb, I got it. Most of mine comes from other places. Other people telling me about it, that it happened when I wasn't there, and they fell on that anchor and they acted on it, right? They fell on that anchor, they got to that, they're going down the rope, they're falling, and they got to the anchor, and boom, they bounced right back up. And that's really one of the most rewarding parts of that with all of this, with you know, the children. It's interesting.
Well, you're setting the foundation, right? And just like in our business, we set the foundation for the business. Sometimes the rewards and the wins happen out there with our team or with our admin or with somebody of that nature. We don't always get to see them firsthand.
That's
you
right.
set the foundation for your kids, and the wins are out there. You just get to hear about the results at dinner, you know, maybe after the fact. So, or on that report card, even better, right? Something like that. Okay, let me circle back. Teams. All right, we talked about how to make sure to avoid complacency. When you have teammates, co-workers, fellow leaders that you're in business with in some way, shape, form, or fashion, and something is off, something is wrong, something is an opportunity, we say here at Keller Williams, right? How do you have a fierce conversation? How do you approach fierce conversations to make sure that the end result is positive and move and forward moving?
Yeah. Stop it. No. No, I mean, listen, the right way to address that is to come from curiosity. Look, I said that for impact and to make this interesting, but at the same time, come from curiosity. So I'm seeing this. You never know. You literally never know what happened 30 seconds before or 30 seconds after you saw someone. And so come from curiosity, and help me understand, here's what we're doing. Do you understand? And we always reframe it. We use a lot of the Keller Williams things for the first 90 days when we're bringing staff or agents into our company. All we use for our coaching time is the cash talks. That's all. I mean,
so for clarity, but because somebody may not know, what's the cash talk?
So cash talk is we talk about it in a regular way. We meet with people in a regular way. Initially, it's pretty frequently, it's the beginning of the week and the end of the week. We have several different triggers with our company where we're all together, and have some accountability together too, and some culture time together. A cash talk is focused on knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits. And so a cash talk, when you're having a cash talk with someone, is like, so listen, it's been a week since we met. Tell me in the past 7 days, what has grown how have you grown in your knowledge? And so we leave that there, right? How have you grown in terms of your knowledge? And in the past 7 days, tell me about your attitude. Now, we ask about 3 questions per one of these, right? So tell me about that. Where have you grown? Where have you not grown? What do you want to focus on? What do you think what's a goal that someone in this role should have? What's a goal of knowledge that you need to have for someone to be successful in the role that you currently have? Oh, well, I need to learn this. Great. Is that a priority for you? Yes, it is. Okay. How can I help you get that? What tools do you need? Do you have what you need to get that? No. Okay. So what are we going to accomplish by next week? Great. Tell me about your attitude. Where are you? Funny story about this, not to get off skills, but we talked about it again. Knowledge, attitude, skills, habits. This is a true story. I was coaching when our team was really big and we had like 10 agents. And we were rock and rolling, and we had various people, various sizes of people. People were coming, people were going, people were in the middle somewhere. I was going along. I was doing these 30-minute individual weekly coaching sessions with these guys. One of my young guys, he was going along, and I took him through all this. And I was like, okay. So, and I jumped, right? I didn't want them to get monotonous. So I would go knowledge, or I'd start with habits, or I'd start with skills. In this particular session, I'd saved attitude for last. And it's going along, and it's like, oh, I learned this and I learned that. He said goals and he said habits, and he said all these things, priorities for next week. I remember exactly. We were 24 minutes into our coaching session. And I said, okay, great. By the way, just a good habit. The reason I knew that is I had a timer that was running that I kept up with to see. I had a countdown timer, and it was a count up timer at the time. We were 24 minutes in, and I was like, so tell me where you are with your attitude with real estate and Alexander Brandau Partners. And he's like, I'm so glad you asked. It's a 0.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And he was like, yeah, no. I was like, it's scale of 1 to 10, like, 10's the best. like what? 0 is not even in the game, bro. And he was like, no. He goes, yeah, I'm resigning today. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, I'm going back to this. I'm going back to that. I got this opportunity back at the bar I used to work at. So I couldn't turn it down. I was like, I was 24 minutes in, and he said action items for the next week. But the guy was so focused on like just bop, 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 and going through the system. I mean, he was chugging. And then he was like, oh yeah, so I'm not staying in real estate, and I'm not staying in your company. And I was like, wow. I was like, okay, well, we need to talk about that. Let's talk about the exit and like what that looks like. And he was like, yeah, what about your clients? He was like, yeah, I really don't care. Like whatever you think, man. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, okay. So he was out. Like,
yeah,
he had his stuff packed. It was in the bag. Like, I mean, and so again, someone on this call is going, oh my God, I'd be so mad. I wasn't mad because I learned a great skill, right? I learned that they were just going through the motions. And like, that was on us that we discovered it. Because he might have just straight up ghosted on us. I've had that happen too. I've had someone, have a really great meeting. We did a nice 30-day review with them. And then, I went to a coffee and came back and they were done. Like I got a Dear John note, but it was a Dear Alex, you and your bow tie can But, whatever. That's the truth is that's them and that's their journey. And when you commit to what we do and what our disciplines are and what our habits are and what our standards are, then we could go, look, I mean, unfortunately, this isn't a match for us. And I'm committed, but not connected to the outcome. And, I'm committed to you and I'm committed, but I'm not connected to this because you have to do it. I think that's another journey around the team that I learned. We had a time where we had really, really tight. We had about 5 really good 25 to 35 unit a year producers in our company.
Wow.
That is very, very rare.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, at the moment, I did not know it. And I just didn't know it. And it was a really unique time. Everyone was tight. We had a long, long tenure. Our culture was great. And I didn't, as a leader in my own journey, they were going to be in those roles forever. And unfortunately, when I looked back on it with all those people, I needed to challenge them individually. And that's where the cash talks really entered our life. Was I was just like, cool, you're going to do that forever. And that wasn't in their goal. And I made an assumption. And so that, I learned that lesson.
Looking at people as people, not people as machines for a business, right?
Right. And so now our journey is showing people how they're going to evolve always. Now we show people, here's what 6 months looks like. And then 6 months after that, you're going to go here. 6 months after that, it's a path and an opportunity map within our company, within Keller Williams, within Keller Williams International, MAPS, and all the various opportunities that we have on our opportunity map within KW.
Love that. I love that. I think Gary said it, or somebody said it of Gary. All right. I'm sure you've heard this before. Gary created a world so big that you can dream a very big world and you're still within his, right? And I think that as leaders, even as parents, right? You want to dream a world so big that your kids can dream with you and they can grow in that and always be pushed and always be motivated to grow. Same for your teammates, same for pretty much anybody in your life where you want growth for them. Alex, when you shifted your mindset from, hey, do that job, do it well, to, hey, we were intending for you to grow, what kind of culture did that all of a sudden develop within your own team?
Yeah, so I mean, it really helped people know that we care about them, right? And it keeps you in relationship with them years and years later. So, and it changed the culture of the company too, right? It changed the culture and the priorities of the company, of what we need to do and that we want to grow and that we're growing, based. I told people that on the front end. I was like, everybody we've ever hired, everyone we've ever gotten a relationship with, started, with us started, and then we always shift it, in the first 60 to 90 days, it's like, cool, we had this plan and we're like, oh, and we just made a little adjustment. The truth is that does continue, always.
Yeah.
And if you don't continue to have that conversation of what you're shifting and reprioritizing to, then they will self-select out, whether you're challenging them or not.
Well, talented people want to be challenged. They want to grow. They want something new to get after, right? So that's great. What's your biggest hurdle right now? Obstacle. What's the biggest thing you're facing? Whether it be because of, and we can input all the things, right? I don't want to call them excuses. However, characteristics of 2020. What's your biggest hurdle right now, man? Because I know some agents out there confused, scared, beating their head against the wall because things aren't moving forward like they thought. What is your biggest hurdle being one of the top agents in the office?
Yeah, so I think there's 2 things I'll share there. One, it's, your mindset, right? Like, people say, talk to several folks in the past, like, man, I'm just not, no one's calling me. And I'm like, well, who are you calling? Nobody. Okay. What are you saying when you call? There's an evolution here as to what you can say and how you can say it. It's one of those, it's typically 1 or 2 things. If you're not getting the results you want, you're either not doing enough or it's what you're doing, right? You're either not talking to enough people or it's what you're saying that's causing you not to have the results that you want. So I think that first of that's mindset, right? Something we talk about again in the cash talks when we make a commitment to someone. How skilled, how disciplined do you want me to be? How much accountability do you want? And for me personally, like as soon as that question starts, before people even finish it with me, 10. Like what kind of level this one? 10. You know, I'm like, I know what you're getting ready to ask me. 100%. Give it to me. You know, that's a challenge for me though, right? That's one of my own challenges. It creates things that we have to work through. One of us, for me personally, a little more specifically, we're a very heavy face-to-face business, right? We're very relational. Prior to 2020, we were 4 to 6 face-to-face appointments every day. That started with a breakfast or a coffee first thing in the morning, sometimes 2, then prospecting, then a lunch, then 3 or 4, you know, face-to-face appointments in the afternoon. You know, we're not doing that. Like that went away. So we found a different way, and we're doing it right now, right? This is new. And yet that's one of the things that I'm committed to not shifting back to, because we can do 3 coffees through Zoom with somebody, and like I got the coffee pot upstairs, and like get to know you, you know, still, how can I help you? Who do you know that I need to know? Who do I know that you need to know? We can still do that in an efficient way, and like find a way, adapt and overcome. No, you know, you can have reasons or results, right? You know, and fear and faith, you know, which one you choose, you can have both. And so we faith that we could do it. There's a way to do it. And we got forced into this. So I see it as an amazing opportunity to increase our efficiency, to improve and deepen relationships that we have and create new ones. So
Love
I
that.
can tell you right now, just for a great mindset on that, I have right now today, I have over $3 million worth of contracts right now that has happened in the past 90 days. 2 of those 3 people I have never laid eyes on ever.
In person.
In person.
Love that.
One of them is 5,000 miles away.
Well, it's beautiful, man. It's absolutely beautiful what this can do. And we spoke on this at team meeting, and it was, you know, listing presentation one of our agents went on, and it was, hey, do you mind doing Zoom? And the agent was like, of course not. Yeah, like I want y'all to feel safe and everything. All they had to do was put on, you know, they got dressed up at home, right? There was no driving. All of their information was on their computer screen, so they could go through the presentation without printing anything, just share the screen. Number 2, they could skip all and guys, there's nothing wrong with it, however it is, hey, petting the dog, kissing the baby, let me walk through your home. Oh, that's a kitchen? Didn't know that fridge? Y'all didn't know that was there, right? So it's like, yes, I get it. So much of the noise was cut out. When you think about these coffees and everything that you're doing now, I'm very curious, how do you find the people, and how purposeful are you with the people that you spend time with in those meetings? Will you take them with anybody, or are you saying, hey, is it like a Facebook post? Hey, who do you know that I need to know? Who do you know out there who's high talented, and I just want to have a conversation no matter the industry? How do you find those coffees just to meet and network?
Yeah, so you got to it is being intentional. It can be by accident, but I will tell you that if you don't focus on it, it won't expand. And if you don't have the priority, so our goal is we want to meet 3 new people a week in a targeted and specific way. And why, you know, and so why are we meeting them? Why are we growing that? What is it? I mean, it's just, we're asking that in a specific way, in the right time and in the right place. Hey, I really enjoy working with you. You know, who do you know that I need to know? You know, who is it? What do you know, who is it that has a need? We have some very, very specific scripts and some very specific asks. Who is it that you know that we need to know? And let them be general about it, because you just don't know who and they will get. I tell the story all the time that when I was at one of my first Keller Williams luxury retreats, there was a guy on stage that I really connected with, and as is common when you've been on stage, you get, you know, rushed afterwards and you get comments, you know, you can't get to them. And so anyway, he's from Maui, and we've spent some time in Maui and vacation in Maui. And anyway, we were there, and I was just sent him a note. I was like, hey man, you don't know me. And I was like, but I was there and I'm here. You know, I was in Washington, D.C. at the retreat, and you were there and I didn't get to talk to you. I thought you were great. Can we have lunch? And he's like, sure. We had lunch. We're sitting there, in this amazing cafe and having this amazing, lunch together. And like an hour and a half in, he's 5,000 miles away in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. He goes, "Oh my gosh." I said, "What?" He goes, "I know someone you need to know." And I was like, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah, one of my biggest clients, his business manager's in Nashville." I said, "You're kidding." He goes, "No." He goes, "Would you like to meet him?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So he made that amazing connection. This guy's like a huge amazing celebrity, right? And you're like, "You're what?" And he put it together. We've been together for an hour and a half, and there was nothing in that. We have no dollars in that, right? But that's how intentional we are, and to the process. The quality shows up in the quantity, and you can be specific, but at the same time, sometimes sometimes luck revolves around hard work, right? And doing the work. The luck is like, you're kidding. Like, you got introduced to that guy's business manager? I'm like, I sure did. And we were, a gajillion miles away. So
That's awesome.
I can tell you more and more stories like that, but you just have to ask.
Yeah. And it's amazing how easy getting those appointments are, right? It's like, hey, I just simply want to get to know you. You're very well respected. I'm looking to just glean some information, just learn about you. People take that as a compliment. People take that as kind of a boost of ego, even if they've got a big ego already, right? And typically a coffee is the easiest layup to get with that stuff. And if it's a 15-minute personal conversation, or if it turns into an hour and a half and a big celebrity referral, either way, it's a win. That's awesome.
In my 20 years in, I can only think of 2 times that someone said they didn't want to meet for coffee.
Nice. I love that. Well, you must have picked out Dunkin' instead of Starbucks on that one.
No, bro. No.
So I'll read something that Justin French said. I love that Alex always focuses on mindset and priorities. When these are in order, business can thrive. I will never forget several personal experiences that Alex took the time to guide me through. Some difficult opportunities ultimately saved transactions. So a little kudos to you there, man. Little Justin French plug for you.
Listen, that's on him, right? He listened.
Yes.
He learned. And the truth is, we're all learning, and we're all in this journey. And look, he was coachable, and he heard it. And whatever I said, he heard it is what it was about, right? You can hear it at different times. That's why we read MREA, at least 1 or 2 times a year, because you hear different things from it at a different place, right? You read one thing once or twice a year because you hear it differently, in a different place, because you're not the same. What's that saying? Something about you can never step in the same river twice. It's the same thing with some of these things, not always. A lot of it can be very consistent. That's on Justin, because he was coachable. He was looking for it. I just happened to be the mouthpiece that he heard it from. So good on him.
And then all of a sudden, look at Justin. He's growing his business. He just hired his first admin. So yeah. It's those. I heard something the other day, and I absolutely loved it. Don't worry about winning the game. Win the inning. Win that inning. Win that inning. Win that inning. And just focus on that inning, and that'll ultimately win you the game. I love that. And that reminds me, because Justin's talking about in the past these transactions that were saved, being able to be coachable, and now his growth pattern is still going in the direction he intended it to do. If he wasn't coachable, it wouldn't happen.
There's another whole way we can go with that, but part of that is being with someone that's been on the journey, right? Be careful of being in an echo chamber. Be careful of being in a place where you're getting the answers, or people are answering because they care about you, but they're not telling you what you need to hear, right? Like, that can be things that happen, whether that's an agency, whether that's whoever your advisory council is. You need someone on that council that will tell you what you need to hear, regardless if it hurts or not. Not someone that cares about you. Who's like, "It's okay, sugar, don't make those calls." No, you said 20, 17 is not 20. Go make 3 more.
Right.
One of my first mentors literally blew me out in front of about 20 people. And he was like, "You're scared. You won't do it. You won't make these phone calls because you're scared. Yeah. You're scared of rejection." And I said, "No, I'm not." He said, "I'll do it." He goes, "Cool. Get up and go find some business right now." And we were sitting in a bar in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know San Antonio, Tennessee. I don't know that one.
And I was like, and he goes, I'm done. He's late. Now, mind you, I'm not advocating for that. However, that was absolute clarity. And that worked for me. Now, I'm telling you, like, I got up and kind of went around the corner and cried a little bit. And that's why I still carry handkerchiefs to this day. And I was like, okay, I got it. Let's go. And no joke, I went in the bar and was kind of standing around and kind of ended up next to a guy at the shuffle puck table. And he goes, so what's up? Are you here with that group? Yeah, I'm here with that group. Cool. Where are you from? Nashville. My best friend lives in Nashville. No kidding. Who's that? One of my clients.
Boom. Love that. Look at that, man.
Right.
Hey, to speak to that, your coach had to know you and how you would respond to a certain type of coaching.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
Yeah. So that won't resonate at the same level with everyone. However, he knew you, and that's the importance of having that kind of.
That's right.
I love that. All right. So Alex and I have been hanging out for an hour. And I love hanging out with this guy, and I can do it all day, every single day. However, well, maybe not with the beekeeper stuff, man. I'm terrified of them things. They are, nope, not going to be part of that. No, I need 2 suits. All right, I want all the layers.
Murder hornets that are coming.
Yeah, see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it out there to you guys. I've written down a full page of notes here. What were your ahas? What are some questions? What are some follow-up questions from what you heard? Anything like that, you can unmute yourself and talk to us. This is an open forum for sure. Or you can put it in the chat thread and I can prompt it for us.
I got the monitor working.
Love it. Love
Go
it.
ahead.
Right.
You keep leading that sample.
Cool. I got one from Natalie. What is a piece of advice you wish you had been given as a new agent? That's a great question.
You know, it's a great question, but it's also so general, right? I think, Natalie, the question there revolves around what it is for you, right? And it depends on what scope that is. I think the thing that I tell people new to my company is go cause that problem. You know, I say that all the time. Go cause the problem, because people spend too much time on get ready, get set, and hit the go button. Right? There is so much preparation. You know, we talk about it, 86% of new licensees fail in the first 2 years. And the reason for that in the general population is because they spend too much time getting ready, getting set, and not enough go. The agents that you see rocket out, don't worry about, and in fact are openly bad with some of the details. They're out there causing problems, right? They actually don't know how to do green sheets right. You know, Cynthia has to have individual, little love-on sessions with them to make that right. And they don't have all this other stuff like this. Get ready, get set is what holds people. KW's number's way down. It's like half that. It's like in the 40s of failure because we teach and train that. But at the same time, get ready, get set, and hit the go button. And go button specifically is on prospecting and building great relationships and having real conversations about who and who they know that needs to buy or sell houses. And don't just stop on that. I was talking with a guy the other day that got introduced to me from a really great agent that I know. And she was like, hey, this guy really needs a phone call from you. And I was like, cool, I'll help him out. And he was like, hey, I'm calling him like, hey, do you need to buy a house? No. And that was it. And I was like, okay, what about commercial? Oh, they run businesses, right? Yeah, well, ask them about their commercial needs. What about their second home? What about their vacation home? What about investment property? Like, what is it that they're going to talk about? Ask those 4 questions instead of, yes and no. And then who do you know? And then now you've got 8 more questions, by the way. Who do you know that needs to buy or sell their primary house? Who do you know that needs to buy or sell investment property? Who do you know that needs to buy or sell in commercial? And who do you know that needs to buy or sell vacation houses? Just this week, I've had 3 referrals out of market just by calling people and being like, hey, what's up? And one of them said, I got this guy down on the beach and like, we're thinking about buying something because we're going to be spending like 90 days a year down there. He's like, yeah, I got this guy from a friend of a friend. And I was like, great. And I have a partner down there who used to live in Nashville, who's now working down there, who's at Keller Williams, who I've referred multiple people to. I would consider it a personal favor for you to talk to them and let me introduce you, because they need to be in your back pocket just in case. Guess who's showing them houses Tuesday?
Love that. Love it.
Right? So I don't know if that's what Natalie was looking for in her answer. But what I'll say is get into go and get into what, not just yes and no questions. Like, do you need a buy? No, thanks. You know, who's your realtor? No one asks who their backup realtor is. Right?
Right.
Who's your realtor? Oh my gosh, Alex Brandau. Cool. Hang up on them, by the way. We'd just be like, cool, bye. Like, don't ask them who their backup realtor is. But if you do, and if you don't, it's maybe somebody that you know, and they were like, I don't even have a realtor, and I don't even have a backup. You know. So I think that's one good question. Another good thing to say real quickly is with newer agents in particular, I think the best way to make money quickly, which may be kind of where she was coming from, is I think it's referral opportunities. People go, well, I only live in Nashville, and I only know 200 people in Nashville. Great. You only know 200 people in the whole world? That's enough. Because if you're asking those 8 questions, you're going to find enough opportunity with them, and you're going to find enough, you know, like I said, whether it's commercial, whether it's personal investment property, personal vacation property, whatever that may be, it's our job to uncover that. And then the coolest part about being new is you're like, well, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do whatever it may be. I don't know how to do commercial. Well, guess who does? Chris, right? No, yep. Don't sweat it, right? Like Chris has got, you know, how many years? 20 years of real estate commercial experience. Perfect. So you're over here for me. I may not be.
I love when you looked, it was identical to where Chris was. I was like, what?
So right. So Chris, I mean, I looked at my own screen. I was like, Chris, right? So it's probably better that I didn't have the monitor working in the first hour because I would get distracted. But all that to say, the best way to do, the reason that works is the people will pick you and listen to you because they care and trust you, and they'll trust you to refer you to someone that'll take great care of them, and you share in the revenue.
Love it. Yes.
Right? Like that's crazy. That's something that we have a major opportunity on. Like, and don't limit it. Right now, if you have 200 people, there is, you know, at least 15 to 20 real opportunities. You just have to uncover them.
Well, I also love that. Okay, let's start with 200 people. That's great. Our job and our purpose, and as professionals, we have to grow that database. And then if we put your practice of 3 people per week in that, even if I just worked 40 weeks out of the year, I got another 120 people in 1 year that I'm adding to that database. So boom, you know, it just grew by more than 50% in 1 year.
Right.
I love that. I love that. Natalie, did that answer your question? Do you have a follow-up? You put it in the comments below. And again, I agree. Chris, I mean, a great referral partner for commercial for sure. And, you know, I'll put the words in her mouth because she's on mute. I guarantee you if you send her a referral, she's going to coach you through how that commercial happens and plays out. So you're going to be able to learn something too. Right? So yeah, okay. I got the thumbs up. Good. Perfect. All right. So yes, Natalie was happy with that answer. So well done, my friend.
I just think that's a really big opportunity, right? People, don't limit yourself because you don't have the skills. We're the number 1 office. We're the number 1 team office in the country. We're the number 1 office in sales volume. We've got so much power, so much influence. Someone can help you. Don't get caught up in the money. Get caught up in the opportunities. Focus on the opportunities and don't worry about that. Just go, look, Chris is going to take care of it, right? You find a $4 million. We had an agent years ago that came in and he was like, I got this $6 million house. He came to me because of luxury. He came to me and was like, hey man, I got this great opportunity on the $6 million house. And we worked through it. And he actually thought it was an opportunity, but it really wasn't. And I knew that because I knew about it. I was in the market and I could help him. Now, just the opposite of that, I've had someone new, very, very new in the business, brand new in the business, come upon an opportunity. And we had one of the top 3 market sales in the entire MLS because of that individual who didn't have a ton of experience. And is a fabulous person, but realized they were like, hold up, I don't have the experience. I need to partner with someone who does.
Yeah.
And they shared in the revenue and it was fine. There was plenty of money to be made. Don't worry about the money. Take care of the people. Focus on the opportunity. As far as I know, the single biggest commission check that ever happened in Keller Williams was a commercial deal in this office, 493. And it was a cold call too, if I remember that being correct. So
I've heard the story, and I think it took 3 different checks to write the full amount.
I mean,
So that's a good problem. It's a good problem to
hashtag
have.
goals.
Yeah, yeah, right. And then Chris jumped in. One of the best things we all can do is stay in our lane, serve our clients to the best of their interests. Here's the cooler part to both of those, and I agree with you, Chris. If you do stay in your lane, Gary said it yesterday in a mastermind session with 200 people nationwide. He said nobody becomes a master of their craft unless they're focused on one thing, right? Stay there. Now, Alex is talking about opportunities. Yes, find opportunities and yet keep driving towards your purpose and your one thing. Send commercial over here. If it's luxury, send commercial over to Alex. If it's something like land development, something of that nature, send that to the appropriate people, right? Stay in your lane. I love that. Great question, Natalie. Well done. Let's see here. Anything else from anybody else? And then I've got one follow-up for Alex, and then we're done. I'm going to give about 10, 20 seconds. Load up those questions, and then we can rock and roll. Sweet. This has been great, Alex. Thank you very much, buddy. So here's mine.
Talk about France. You wanted to talk about France.
I do want to talk about France. Quickly, tell me first though, what's one question that I didn't ask that I should have asked?
I don't know. I think we did pretty good. I mean, we talk about what, the challenges, the opportunities, the mindset. I mean, I think we touched the bases. I mean, the biggest thing is making sure that everyone that's been here has gotten something that they can actually take. If they didn't get something, or they're stuck on something or didn't understand something, I think that's an appropriate, reset. It's always important for me and always a focus for me when we do stuff like this to make sure that it's applicable, right? We always start with, what did you come to learn? What do you want to learn? And then we kind of back check it, but it seems like we've done a nice job so far. So.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, tell me a little bit about France, or tell them, I should say, because I know all about it.
You know what? I mean, this is slightly segueing, but I think it's something that we do in a pretty unique way. We talked about the opportunity map and Keller Williams, and the opportunities that our company, being an international company and being as large as it is a very, very important thing. And so what I'll tell you this story, and I like telling stories, and I think that's a great way to sell too, by the way, is telling stories. But we ended up, and we're recently in January, main stage panelists and MREA specialists in Family Reunion France, in Lyon, France. And that's amazing, right? It was really cool. By the way, I don't speak French. It was an amazing experience. We were on a headset and a translator on stage in front of 1,300 people from all over Europe. It's really interesting, even with our own stuff now. I was on a Luxury Connect video earlier this month, and there were about 400 French agents that watched it and commented. And so adding to my to-do list is to improve my French. So and that's on our list, right, to go and immerse. But here's what's more interesting about that opportunity, because it is ultimately relationships. I got a call just like this from the Mount Juliet Market Center. And it was from the, I don't remember, what was Shannon doing at that time, Marcus? It was
she was,
productivity or ATL?
She wasn't even, it was like beginner productivity because she didn't have a designation.
So there was early, and it wasn't, the world-class top 1% producers that we have, and with Tabby in our office, but it was the beginning of that. She said, "Hey, I heard you do a really good open house class." I said, "Yeah, I do. It's really great. What's up?" She's like, "Would you come teach it in our market center?" And I was like, "Well, I kind of don't want to, but whatever. I'll do it. It'll be fine." So I go and teach it. It's amazing. We did a thing with ALC. That's where you and I met, actually, Marcus, for the very first time, if I remember right.
Yep.
Over some really nice, tomato and bologna sandwich subs. But then we taught the class, and it was really good, right? It was a really, really good class. About 50 people in that room. And interesting side note to that story, agent that was new to Keller Williams and on the way up was a guy named David. what's his last name?
Oh, Huffaker?
Huffaker.
Something like that.
Anyway, something about that guy. So one of the top agents in Gary's private mastermind, sitting in the front row, and just this year at Family Reunion, actually said from stage, one of his top 3 business sources is his open houses that he learned from me. And I was like, awesome. I was like, that's good. He's doing it better than I do. But interestingly enough, the reason I'm telling you that story and all of these anecdotal pieces, so Shannon, who was the productivity coach at the time in the office, shortly after that leaves and goes to be the team leader in Maine, the team leader for Maine, and become for the whole state, 400 and something agents, and calls me and says, your class is so great, would you come do it? I said, yeah. So we stayed in a relationship, flew to Maine, got paid to do that, paid speaking experience, paid, adventure. And she gets involved in MAPS coaching. She gets involved through MAPS coaching and her team leadership, and learns and gets connected with some other folks on the international side, Keller Williams Worldwide, and on the worldwide side. And so she's involved in part of various groups and connects with the people in France, and is now one of the top 3 or 4 people in all of Keller Williams France, which happens to be the #1 worldwide expansion country in our market. And lo and behold, she called and said, would you like to come and be our MREA panelist and specialist in Lyon? And so it was amazing, right? And there were a handful of Americans there, I'd say under 20, that were there, and we got to do some amazing stuff. And it's really, really been special because a Family Reunion this year, I got to go see those guys and see, Garen and Jerome and, all these other folks. It was really, really powerful. So all that to say, I want you to see that opportunity map from everyone in our company, from agents, from staff. We have such a wide lens and so many maps and opportunities to go do that. And by the way, we have no dollars in that, none. It's just pure relationship. It's follow-up. Shannon and I have been in several other little masterminds. We've been in a 20-person mastermind with Gary before. And, it came from being intentional and staying in relationship and caring about the other person and helping each other. And away we go. So it's a really interesting and amazing story that I like sharing, and probably an opportunity that we will not get in the United States, right? Probably not going to be the MREA specialist on Mega Camp stage or Family Reunion, but that's okay because I'm going to keep going to France.
Hey. Well, it's so cool. Mount Juliet is one of the smallest market areas in Middle Tennessee, right? As far as market centers.
For sure.
All of a sudden, because of that small seed, you're in France in front of how many people total?
1,500.
1,500. This is not a room of 50, guys. This is the event. Like 1,500 people. That's amazing, man.
On a translator too, which was amazing. Like they'd ask the question in French, the translator would put it in our ear, and then I had to wait for the translator to finish and then answer in English.
Well, I think the story tells. No matter where you are right now, being part of Keller Williams is going to give you the ability to grow as much as you intend to grow. Speaking in front of 1,500 people in France is probably not the first thing that came to mind when he started with Keller Williams 14 years ago. And yet here we are. So, dude, congratulations. On behalf of everyone, my friend, thank you very, very much for today. You poured into us. I'm going to go back and review my notes. Just some takeaways from me. It's always great to revisit the cash conversation. I loved what you said about the fierce conversations always coming from curiosity to begin that, because we never, ever, ever know. Loved hearing about your why too. Thank you for sharing that. It's a vulnerable moment, and I didn't know, we didn't set that, so I wasn't aware that you would go that deep with us. And we're not selling perfect. Those were a couple of keys that I just loved myself. So thank you very much, brother, and we appreciate you. And if anybody has additional questions or advice or wants to mastermind for their business, whatever, I know Alex is going to be wide open for having that conversation with you. Any last words, buddy?
No, it's my pleasure. I'm privileged and love and care about this office and this market center and this company on a national, local, national, international level. And So anything I can do to help, that's why we share, that's how we grow, and that's how we take market share together. So
yeah, we do. All right, guys, y'all all have a wonderful day. Again, thank you, Alex. We'll see y'all soon.
cheers.